Today is Good Friday. Today we meditate on how our Lord allowed Himself to be brutally mishandled by the Roman soldiers, by the authorities, that all of us who believe in Him may have a scope of salvation. As I celebrate this day, it fills me with mixed emotions. Firstly, that Jesus is allowing Himself to be mistreated by these people. In fact, it was very gruesomely cruel. But of course, the evangelists and the Gospels avoid or maybe bypass those gruesome details in the Gospels. However, they lay down plainly what really happens in the life of Jesus. In fact, the crucifixion of Jesus, or maybe for that matter any person, is a very slow, painful and humiliating death. And Jesus is allowing that upon Himself, the slow, painful and humiliating death. It was a time He lost everyone and everything. He lost His friends. Now the Peter who said that He would be by His side, no matter what, the very same Peter who proclaimed Him as the Messiah, denied Him and ran away at the time of trouble. Judas betrayed Him and disappeared. The others who were supposed to stand by Him, none of them remain. They all disappear. He's all alone. This is a moment He's stripped of all relations and He's forced to stand alone. Maybe He willed that for Himself. And again, looking further into the details, you also understand that it was total violation of justice upon Jesus. Nothing that was done in the right manner. Everyone were quick to judge Jesus and wanted to punish Him, probably except for Pilate, because I think he was finding some means to save Jesus. But besides that, if you look, everyone wanted to put a quick end to Jesus, all those officials in power. Well, my dear brothers and sisters, this is one side of Good Friday. The one side that reminds us of all the terrifying events that happens in the life of Jesus. And the evangelists portray these events to their severity, avoiding the gruesome details of what happened. But on the other hand, we are also reminded that, of course, it is a Friday. And in this Friday, we are hearing the story of the betrayal, the story of the denial, the story of the violence that were let out on Jesus. But we also know that the Sunday is not far away. So even when we know it is a Friday, we also know that's a Sunday that's coming very soon. So these things are very clear to us. And therefore, the story of the betrayal, the denial, and the passion of Jesus on the cross just becomes for most of us a repeated story that we go through every year. But my dear friends, if we need to look into our own lives at the basis of what is happening in the life of Jesus, the passion of Jesus, we'll understand that it is through this cross that He's telling us how much He loves humanity, how much His heart longs for each one of us. Because we have to understand one thing principally. It is Jesus who controls everything that is happening in His life at this particular moment, nobody else. He is praying in the Gethsemane. He's saying, Father, if it is possible, let this chalice be taken away from me. But then He prays, let not my will but your will be done. And then He goes to His apostles and He finds them sleeping. He's disturbed by this act. But however, He gets up and tells, come on, it is time. It is time, he tells, it is time for me to deliver myself into the hands of the enemies. So he allows himself to be found by his humiliators, by those people who are going to kill him, who are going to let out all evil upon him. He's delivering himself into their hands. And then we see everything that is happening in his life. So Jesus is controlling. Even at the court of Caiaphas, even at the court of Pilate, even at the court of Herod, we think why these people are not seeing the true Messiah. Because Jesus is not allowing them to find him. He remains silent. He's speaking in riddles. He does not speak things plainly. And since we have the great thing that happens in the life of Jesus, the passion of the Lord, the carrying of the cross, the crucifixion, and all those humiliating events that follow thereafter. My dear friends, the passion and the death of Jesus on the cross teach us one thing. How do we approach the struggles of our life? We may approach it in two ways. There are two thieves on the cross. One of the thieves is deriding Jesus, is abusing Jesus, is letting out all evil, scandalous abuse against Jesus. He's cursing literally. I can curse at the face of my trials. I can keep on telling or accusing people for the misfortune that has befallen me. That is one side. But on the other side, I can also take it gracefully, like the good thief. I can ask the Lord to remember me when He is in His kingdom. Because I see God's will manifested in my life when I go through this pain. My dear friends, the Good Friday is not only about the passion and death of Jesus. It is also about how we approach this great mystery in the life of Jesus and connect our lives to this passion of our Lord, thereby making it a life-giving experience for each one of us. Remember, it was through the darkest hour in human history the Lord brought light into our lives. If that is a truth, then through the darkest hours of our lives, our God can bring life and light into our lives as well. It's all about our choice, whether we take it gracefully or we accuse and curse at the moment of our trial.